بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. Continuing with Surah al-Tin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we have created man in the best of taqweem, in the best of rough translations fashions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, and we have made the children of Adam, which is humankind, we have honored them, we have made them noble. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we have given humankind preference over a lot of different creations, from a lot of different creations. Okay, so humankind is special, is very special. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in this ayah says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, and we have created humankind in the best of fashions. Today I want to take a tangent away from this and introduce to you, in order to really appreciate this ayah and other ayat in the Quran that are associated with it, we have to talk about a topic that we typically discuss in passing. We don't really stress on this too much. In academic circles, it's studied a lot. But I want to kind of give you a summary today so that you will really understand not only this ayah, but the framework of the Quran and the arguments in the Quran as well. And it will also help you appreciate Western scholarship, non-Muslim scholarship, that we typically just put on the side as like, oh, we don't need this. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the arguments for the existence of God. It wasn't just Muslims trying to come up with proofs of does God exist or God doesn't exist. It was Christians, it was Jews, it was even Plato's and Socrates, and they were talking about concepts. All of them are being used today by Muslims. So it's really important that we understand that. Why am I talking about existence of God? Inshallah, I'll connect that dot, inshallah, next time around. We won't have time today. I just want to give you a summary. There are three, you can say, types of arguments you can categorize. One, rational arguments, logical arguments. How logically you can come up with the conclusion that God exists. Second are what are called existential arguments. Existential questions are meaning, what is the meaning of life? What is my purpose? The third type of arguments are experiential arguments. So things that we learn from experience that make us go, wow, how's that? How is that? And those are used as well to prove the existence of God. Okay, so just very roughly, very quickly, what are some of the rational arguments? Those are the first category, right? One of them is the ontological argument. It's a very philosophical argument. Basically, summary is, if you can conceive something to be the greatest thing you can think of, it would be God. Okay. And if that God is real, it's not just an imagination. If it was an imagination, you can still conceive of something that is greater than that which is God in reality. So God is real. That's the argument. The second one, very common in the Islamic circles studied today. Have you heard of the Kalam cosmological argument? Kalam argument is also not an original argument. It was actually borrowed from some of the Christian philosophers that was borrowed from some of the other Greek philosophers and whatnot. Okay, it's called the cosmological argument. What is that argument? Very popular. Everything is dependent. Everything, all creation is dependent. And there is a cause for something to happen. Okay? And whatever caused that thing to happen, something caused that to happen, and so on and so forth. You can keep going back, right? You can go back to infinity that way. But there is no such, that doesn't make sense. So there has to be an original cause. Because you don't want to keep doing the infinite regress, which means you don't want to keep repeating itself. The chain never ends, and that original cause is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is independent of anything else. Everything depends on him. He's the original cause that causes everything to happen. Then it's the very interesting teleological argument. It means everything in this universe is fine-tuned. For example, the Big Bang? When the Big Bang happened, it happened at a particular speed. If that speed was like a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a second faster or slower, the universe would either Big Bang explode, rip apart, or it would collapse on itself. So it's so fine-tuned that even the slightest variation is going to make the universe not exist. Just as an example, I'm just giving you an example. So it's perfection. That's one kind of perfection. The other kind of perfection is the human being and how beautifully, or animals, or how they're designed. The way the eyes, you can study eyes for the rest of your life and you still won't be able to fully appreciate the way just the eyes work. So the argument is, if you have a complex watch, that watch needs a watchmaker. So you need something, an entity, to create such precision and such beautiful, complex design. There has to be a grand designer. So those are the rational arguments, right? The logically you can come up with the proof of existence of God. Obviously, there's arguments against some of these things. There's some weakness. We're not going to get into that. I'm just giving you an idea. Moving on. More interesting now. Existential arguments. Morality. Why is there a universal sense of right and wrong? Where did that come from? So this is an argument from morality. So human beings have that sense. This is only specific to human beings, that we know that we can act. We will be held accountable. Either here or somewhere, we're going to be held accountable for the wrong choices we make. Okay? It's the argument for morality. So if there is morality, then there has to be an ultimate judge of actions. There has to be the ultimate judge. This is very important for sort of teen understanding as well. Okay? There has to be. Then there's an argument for beauty. Like, what is beauty? All human beings appreciate beauty. Even animals appreciate beauty. What makes something beautiful? You can't really explain it. But everybody aims for excellence, aim for perfection, aims to make things beautiful. What is that? So that stems from an original entity that is all beautiful, that everything beautiful emanates from. This is an argument for beauty. Then there's an argument of transcendence. Okay, argument from transcendence, which is everyone, if they're not an animal, they're gonna think eventually, one day or another, they're gonna think eventually about outside of themselves. Not everybody's gonna be selfish. They're gonna go, why am I here? Why was I born? What is the purpose of my life? What should I be doing? What is something good that I should be doing? I'm not just here as an animal. I'm different from an animal. I do have a purpose. I have been given this ability or that ability or whatever, and I need to do something with it. So that's, you're transcending. Your human being transcends and looks to what is the meaning and their purpose. And it is an entity that is going to be providing the answers to those existential questions. The meaning of life, the purpose of life. There has to be an entity that gives answer to those questions. So that is the argument from transcendence. There's another one on free will and destiny. I'm just going to pass on that. Experiential arguments, and then we'll be done. Argument from miracles. There are things that happen in our experience that we cannot explain from physical, logical phenomena. We just cannot. Supernatural things. Obviously, there's prophetic miracles, but that requires an amount of belief. But everybody experiences some kind of miraculous things that cannot be explained through a natural phenomenon. That is evidence of, and the argument says, a direct intervention from the divine, from God. that happens as an example. So arguments from miracles. Then here's the two most interesting thing that I want you to take away. Morality was one, transcendence was another, and now these two more. Human consciousness. We are not only aware, animals are aware, it's light, it's dark, there's food, there's no food. Animals are aware, but we are self-aware. We are aware about our own awareness. We exist, but we think about why do we exist. We think about our existence. We think, but we think about why we think and how we think. So animals have cognition. This is metacognition. We think about our own cognition, self-awareness. We have ability to reason and rationalize that no other creature on this earth has that ability. Evolution cannot explain morality. Evolution cannot explain transcendence. Evolution cannot explain human consciousness. Cannot explain human consciousness. We choose to make moral judgments. We have the ability to make judgments. This is right. This is wrong. This is the better choice than this choice, etc., etc. And the quest for purpose and meaning. So, as a result, the origin of human consciousness has to come from somewhere. And it's only special to human beings. It cannot be found anywhere else. In the physical world. Anywhere else. It's very special. So there has to be an origin of that consciousness, the ultimate consciousness, the highest consciousness, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, here's the last argument I'm going to share with you. Argument from language. Human beings, again, evolution cannot explain. The only species in this whole planet that has the ability to speak. Ar-Rahman, خلق الإنسان, علمه al-bayan. Expression, language. Big, giant, non-Muslim philosophers, Noam Chomsky, he says this evolution cannot explain. He is one of the greatest minds still alive. I think he's still alive. Greatest mind still alive, Noam Chomsky. Listen to him. He's a linguist. He's a linguist and a philosopher. And he's got amazing videos on this. Language is complex, unique, only unique to human beings. We are able to convey abstract, complex, symbolic concepts through language, through the way, not just we think and the way we express. We are extremely creative. One thing can be said many different ways. Discuss the past and future, whatever. You can reflect on your thoughts. You can explain concepts to others. You can understand things from others. This is unique to human beings. So the origin of this linguistic capacity has to come from somewhere. We didn't just evolve with it because it cannot be explained. So if you know about the Darwinian theory, about the natural selection, so now what is natural selection? Basically, things evolve in a certain way, because if they didn't, they would die off. Okay, so the birds that couldn't fly died off. Those types of birds, they died off, and only birds who could fly are alive. The monkeys that couldn't climb the trees to get the fruit, they died off, and only monkeys that could climb the tree are alive, etc., etc. Natural selection. Longer topic. We could talk about it another time. There is absolutely no need for language. There's absolutely no need of language. It's not something that you need to survive. However, it exists and only exists in human beings. And if it was an evolutionary concept, you will have other animals being given the ability to speak and have that human consciousness. That doesn't exist. Life has been around on Earth for 4 billion years or something like that, right? Nobody else has it. So, in a nutshell, these are the arguments, okay? The reason I wanted to discuss this is, have you noticed something special that are unique to human beings? Right? Language, consciousness, transcendence, morality, sense of morality. All of these are unique. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Okay? وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, we'll talk more about it next time. Barakallahu feekum.